All right, howdy again. So this would be a much shorter video. It just goes over the Chapter 4 lab and also the exam 1 review. So Chapter 4 lab is due on class on Monday before class begins. Make sure you do it. It's worth 2.5% of your overall grade. That might not sound a lot, but that's actually quite a bit. That's quite a few homework assignments as far as how much it's worth overall. And likewise, exam 1 is due on Monday. So pretty busy weekend for this class. Apologies ahead of time for that, just the way it's stacked up. I'm showing you Canvas right here, so I want to make sure you know where to find these two. So they're up here on Canvas. So you have the Chapter 4 lab and also the exam 1 review both right here on Canvas. Let me go and show you the lab. So just some quick overview of how to go through this lab. So what you'll see for this is we've got two data sets for this lab. We have the first data set deals with MRI counts and IQ. It's basically trying to predict someone's IQ based on how large their brain is. MRI is a scan of the size of the brain in this case. And they're trying to use the size to predict the IQ. So one hint up front for this, you need to plot it on a graph. You need to find the linear equation, and then you need to be able to predict an IQ score based on a MRI count. So basically using X to predict a Y. A big hint up front for this is you can actually copy and paste these directly in StackCrunch. Just be careful how you do it because it's formatted a little weird within this. But if I just take this, I'm doing a Command C just for the first column. Control C if you're dealing with a Mac, or sorry, not a Mac, a Windows computer. If I go over here and just click Command V for me, make sure you do it in the correct format. It's going to read a bunch of those commas and think it's a different format. I can paste it directly in to StackCrunch that way. So again, I'll try to show this again. Just do one column at a time because the data is formatted a little weird within Word. I go over here and just go to my cell I want it to go into. And I'm just going to do edit paste. It basically shows you the shortcut there. So for me, it's Command V because I'm working on a fancy Mac here. I can get the MRI count and the IQ. So I would recommend you do this in StackCrunch just from a standpoint of it's a lot easier to do there. You can also see how the graph looks, but you can plot it correctly here. And pretty straightforward, the questions asked about this. Same thing applies for the second data set. So it's asking for square footage. It's using that to predict the asking price of a home in Naples, Florida is where it's done. So the same thing, I would copy this data directly in to StackCrunch. So again, one column at a time, you're going to have to copy it. You can use a copy command right here, just a keyboard shortcut. And I'd copy it and I'd plug it directly into StackCrunch right here. Likewise for the asking price. I'm just going to copy it, paste it directly in. Worst case, you can type it by hand. It will notices all those commas, it thinks it might be a different format, but just going to be careful how you do this, but you're able to do this pretty easily if you get used to the shortcuts. Worst case, you type it in, but I would recommend using StackCrunch. Again, stat, regression, simple linear is your savior for this one, or the feature you're going to be really helpful for this. So ask a few questions, ask you to predict based on something. The only questions that are actually even slightly tricky, I think, are E and G on this one. So basically, is the y-intercept interpretable? We talked about that in the previous video, if the y-intercept is or is not interpretable. So something you need to ask in this situation. Is it actually legitimate in this situation? And likewise, if I have a really large house, so is it reasonable for me to use a prediction on this model? So can I use this model to predict a house that's really big? So just make sure you explain that. Should be relatively straightforward, especially if you're able to get the data successfully into StackCrunch. Again, this is due on Monday, October 2nd. So the next Monday I see you, this is when this is due in class. Make sure you do it. Alrighty, and that gets us to the exam 1 review. So let me go and show you what it looks like for this. I'm not going to spend a ton of time going over this. I'll just give you some highlights for it. I did spend a lot of time, though, actually writing questions to make sure you had example questions for this. So there's quite a few example questions to help you out. So just to summarize, this is where I wish I was in person just to answer any questions you guys had about the exam. It will be on chapters 1 through 4. It's this coming Monday, October 2nd. You'll have a full hour to finish the exam. I might actually extend that to the full class period. We'll see, depending on if I add or take away questions. Only thing required is a calculator and a pen or a pencil. So you just need yourself there, and you just need a calculator. When I say calculator, I mean specifically not your phone. For obvious reasons, I can't let you use the phone on the exam because that just opens up a whole can of worms for potential cheating. To warn you ahead of time, I very much am active in trying to prevent cheating. I've rarely, if ever, had an issue in my classes, but what I do is I have a very much a trust but verify policy about this. So what I'll do is I'll walk around quite a bit. I'll walk between rows. I'll look back and forth. I'll be up and down. Don't get freaked out by this. I don't necessarily suspect you of cheating if I'm hovering near you. I'm just trying to discourage people from cheating. So I kind of have a philosophy: if you make it harder to cheat, then you incentivize people not to cheat. So I'm trying to incentivize good behavior by at least walking around. So just FYI, don't get freaked out by that. A few workout problems, most of them will be multiple choice, roughly 30 questions, but some of them have multiple parts. And again, the whole test is written by me 100%, and it's all will be on paper. So you don't need a Scantron, you just need to answer it actually on the test form itself. I grade every test by hand also. So what I do, just to give full disclosure, up ahead of time, I'll have every page, I'll go through everyone's page back to back to back. So I'll grade everyone's page 1 all together, everyone's page 2 all together. I'll basically grade everyone's same problems at the same time for everybody. What that means for you is basically I have no idea who I'm grading at any given time, so I try to make it as fair as possible when I'm grading them. If a problem is a workout problem, there is a potential for partial credit. So just so you know, if it's a workout problem, please show your work in some way. Give me a chance to actually help you with that problem, or help you as far as the score is concerned. If I can see something that's legitimate, I might give you points back. The questions go based on the notes in class. So if I talk about something a lot in class, since I'm writing the questions, that's probably going to be on the test, big time. Content from the book, again, I'm closely following the book. I'm using PowerPoint slides that are taken from the book and I've adapted. And also the homework problems. So this semester I actually chose homework problems more particularly to try to get closer. So again, homework's not a perfect representation of what's on the test, but it's should be closer aligned to what we have. I tried to weed it down more towards content that I needed you to learn. I kind of consider homework as kind of ground zero. So homework should be easier than test questions in a sense. It's trying to get you to practice learning things over and over again. Remember, on homework, you know exactly what chapter the question's from, and you also have example problems there. You have multiple chances. So just be careful on homework. You might feel like you're doing good on that, but if you're using a lot of learning aids for that, you might not be doing as good as you think you do on the homework. You might not be learning as well. So just watch out for that. That's one common pitfall I've seen for this. So what you'll notice is the rest of this review sheet, I won't go into it too in depth. Feel free to email me, okay? I will definitely answer emails. I'm out of town for a couple of days, but I'll be checking email periodically while out of town, and I'll also be checking email this entire weekend to try to be good about responding if possible, as quick as possible for any questions you have. So all this is just an outline of different things followed by a bunch of review questions. So I'm basically giving you highlights of what we covered. So if a topic's here, then it's fair game for the test. If I did not list something here, then absolutely, if it's on the exam, you have the full right to tell me that, and I'll take it off. I'll basically nullify that question. So it has to be in this outline for me to say I had to cover that topic. Technically on here, I actually saw a typo here, so I'm actually not going to cover cluster sampling, for example. So I'd actually put this in here, but technically I wouldn't require you to know that for the exam. So I guess just one thing I need to take out before I actually send this out. I'm actually delete this right here while I'm doing this. So your version might not have that on it once you see this. So a lot of vocabulary in chapter 1. This is a big concept right here. Definitely hit that. It's just some other things you need to focus on. Chapter 1 is basically how we, vocabulary and how we get data. Chapter 2 is how we present data, graphs, and frequency tables of some sort. Chapter 3 is numerical summaries of data. So we have central tendency, basically mean and median for central tendency, and then dispersion, how spread out things are. And that's standard deviation, variance, percentiles, quartiles, that kind of thing. Don't forget about z-scores, briefly talked about box plots. Not gonna be a lot on box plots, but at least be 1 or 2 questions on box plots too. Everything else is relatively self-explanatory as far as the outline is concerned. If you have any questions about the outline, again, please feel free to email me. Don't feel like you're bugging me too much. Again, it's my job to be supportive as I'll also be there in class. So feel free to email me if you have any questions. The big key I would have is, so if I was studying for this test, I would make sure I had the homework done. I'd make sure that, I look over the tests or the notes at least briefly, especially the sections that I feel like I wasn't as confident in. And I'd spend my majority of my time trying to do these review questions. So what you'll notice is these questions are all written by me again. So they're very, very similar formats to what you'll see on the exam. So if you want the best indication of what's on the exam, these review questions are definitely it. I try to hit the range of topics I cover on the exam. I mix them up too. So on the exam, you're not going to have things in order. So you need to figure out what chapter it comes from. You need to figure out what am I asking for. So like right here, this is a chapter 2 question. I'm asking you to create a table, a frequency table, and also convert these to relative frequencies. You'll notice none of the answers are on the review questions. That's by purpose right now. And so what I'm trying to encourage you to do is be able to find these on your own, okay? Encouraging you to do some self-discovery on this. If you have a question on any of these, feel free to send me an email. I will answer that for you, but you have to show the initiative of emailing me for me to do that. Otherwise, I expect you to use these review questions as the best way to go through this. If you feel confident going through these review questions, then you should do well on the test. If you're struggling with review questions, that's a good indication that you're not ready for the exam yet. So again, feel free to email me about these, and I will try to respond as soon as I possibly can. And these are very good representation of any questions you'd expect on the exam. Some of them are actually past test questions. With that, just to make this video not too lengthy, that's about all I have to add, except for, I guess, the last thing. I have a formula sheet on every exam. There's only 2 formulas for this exam. I actually put it on there. IQR is just simply Q3 minus Q1. That's only useful if you know what Q3 and Q1 are, but if you need to calculate that, that's there. And also Z-score. So remember, X bar is the sample mean, S is the sample standard deviation, X is the actual value. So I will be requiring you to calculate Z-scores. One of the practice questions shows that. That's just the formula for how to do that. As we go along, there'll be more formulas, but this first test doesn't have that many. With that, I'm going to sign off. Again, feel free to send me an email. I'll try to be quick to respond. Definitely highly recommend you spend time going through these review questions. So be a good opportunity for you to try to pair up with a classmate, or if just do them on your own, and then the ones you have issues with, feel free to email me and I'll try to respond quickly to that. So good luck this weekend. I know there's a lot for this class, but it should be a little slower after that for at least a week or two. And good luck getting ready for the test. So I hope you guys do well.